can remember to stop touching my face.
I cannot help it.
I
I do it all the time.
It's like there's a tick. I wish I wore glasses to the point where I could I could touch the glasses. No one cares. No one's gonna make fun of me for touching glasses. But
as long as they're on your face.
Yeah.
Like I just like
touch someone else's glasses. Makerspaces. We'll just get right into it.
Yeah,
no
let's do that.
segue.
Yep.
No segue.
Let's do that.
Going in segue-less, raw dogging it as some of the.
Yeah, there
we go. What? It's this is in Spanish. I just realized that.
Yeah.
The whole thing except brisk, which is strange.
It could be anything.
Is it on? Oh, okay. So it's multilingual.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Big up to Brisk for being multiculturally tolerant.
I just feel like once they do that for them, like they have to do it for everyone else though, so there needs to be like a billion different sides to this can for like everybody. Otherwise you're excluding more people.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
Anyway, makerspaces.
Yes.
This has been a heavily discussed and acted upon topic for the past year almost. There's been, ever since the resurgence of making things, regardless of what it is, like it doesn't matter. Making, like doing what we do, making props, making costumes and things like that, all the way down to like making chairs and making furniture and making soup and it's just this whole thing is blown the hell up with the advent of it's at the time that this gets released, it'll be a week into it probably that Nation of Makers has gone online, something I told you about today that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely, especially if you have ideas of making your own makerspace in your hometown. They are popping up, like they're basically almost there. They are literally pop-up shops. They go up in multi-million-dollar buildings, or they go into the back room of a library. In some places do that. There's actually a makerspace in Lancaster that's not too far from here called Make 717, I think it is.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, dude?
I mean,
I personally think it's cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's still like, it's really cool and it's better than what was there before.
Yeah, it's completely in its infancy right now.
It's just the type of the expectations that we have now are so unreasonable.
Yeah.
Once they introduce something that we never had before,
yeah.
I want more of that.
Exactly. A lot of the maker spaces that are being built in, and it's literally going everywhere from major, well-off, well-to-do city centers to impoverished neighborhoods and everything. And I think that's something to give to their credit, is the fact that it's kind of becoming this multi-jurisdictional, multi-generational sort of the best kind of epidemic there's ever been, I think. And you know, I mean, Pokemon was a pretty wild epidemic not too long ago, but a resurgence of the Pokemon Go.
Yeah. No,
this is the Pokemon Go of making things.
People died.
They did, and I don't think you know. let's hope everyone's safe when these makerspaces come up. Obviously they are, but I think it's just the fact that they're doing that and they're not discriminating where they go. Like it gives me a lot of hope for the future of not only making cool things, and you know your definition of cool will vary, but not making things that are like props or like 3D printing little greeblies or things to give to your mom on Mother's Day, but like they're prototyping.
Yeah.
That's what they are. That's what they're doing. These maker spaces they're kind of tailored to that. Like if you have an idea and it has to do with a laser cutter or a 3D printer or a program like SketchUp or something like that you maybe have access to in school for an hour or two a day, or you might be able to kind of get a hold of it if you begged your mom and dad to buy a computer that's powerful enough to handle. I mean, CAD programs don't run too much nowadays, but they are difficult to just kind of download and use.
Yeah.
You can go to these spaces and sign up to get on the laser printer, and if you have a file that you can load into the laser printer, laser scanner, or laser cutter, or whatever it might be, you can then make that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
We talked about something more than that.
Yeah, we did. We jumped deep.
Yeah, we kind of went from, we were talking about this a couple days ago, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, that might be a cool idea.
I think I popped around for a catch up, and it turned into a 4-hour
a 4-hour discussion about how we want to take over the fucking world.
Yeah.
No,
exactly. Yeah.
But go from it being just a place where you can prototype something to the point where you could go in and take your time and leave the place with a finished.
Yeah.
Like something like a project that's from start to finish, and you've learned how to do the different processes.
Yeah.
Through the process of making the thing.
Exactly, and like I think we talked about getting experience in a way of, with the amount of people and different things going on in that space, you would be gaining all kinds of experience that you never even would have thought that you would get, because like the guy 2 spaces down, he's making some crazy thing that you never even thought of before, and he talks to you about it, and you help him out, just holding things here, but and you learn something and gets out of your little, and that's how you find cool stuff.
Yeah, to expand the brains of the young makers, and because I'm running into more and more as I like talk about this stuff to people. You run into more and more younger and younger kids that are into making and into like putting things together. And even in the most, like we talked about last time, even in the most crude, rudimentary sense, like you said about trying to cold form a sword in your backyard when you're a kid on the ground with a ball peen hammer.
Exactly.
Like,
and it's that like trial, like you were never gonna succeed. Even if I had everything there to do it, it still wouldn't have worked.
No,
because it was the first.
It's the first go. You're not going to be, and that's and.
But I had fun.
Yeah,
with
and
that
you have
hammer.
fun failing. You have fun failing. Like I don't think there should be this. There's such a demonization of not doing it right the first time. But there's such a requirement for that nowadays.
Yeah, and that's where like cost comes into it too.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna like, it would be unrealistic and a terrible idea for anyone thinking of doing it to buy like to like look on a forum of makers or for specific things that you want to do, and everyone will always trash talk the cheaper material.
Yeah. Always.
And, all the time. And they'll say, no, you need to get this if you want it to be done right. And so you're thinking to yourself, now you're trashing this thing that you've never even given a chance.
Yeah.
Like, you're just listening to this guy. And of course he's saying that, because that's what he uses. Like, but it's the same for everyone. Like, that it's just that. Lost my train of thought, but...
It's you're talking about the making material, like the someone's outlook on materials.
So you don't want to be spending like for your first project like a ton of money on a tiny amount of something that's very high quality, because then you've got one shot and you're gonna ruin it because you've not done this before and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and that immediately fosters the doubt.
Yeah.
Immediately, like if it like one of the greatest places that I ever went on and looked was the replica prop forum, the RPF. it's gone viral now that that it's been exposed on social media and everything. But the RPF has been around for more, I think, 20 years now. They would like when the internet was the internet, and you had to like search bar all this. It wasn't like one search engine or anything like that. You could still go on the RPF and you could find people that did the thing that you wanted to do, and you could even go so far as commissioning that person to making you one, or you can go on there and just blaze through forums. I mean, there's a excuse me, there's a membership, and membership comes around a couple times a year. It's actually it's a little difficult to become a member, and when you're a member, you can do certain stuff, like you can buy from the junkyard, which is where people sell materials, or a cool thing that they do, and it's really, really awesome, is one person will be buying like 500 of something, or want to buy 500, and get a whole bunch of people to go in on 500 of something, and then once they go in and get that, you get distributed the amount of money that you put in buys you this much. That's really cool. But the knowledge that you can just go on there and type in, I don't know, if you want to replicate. I've seen so many different things in there. If you want to replicate, like, one thing I wanted always to do was the musket axe from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and I went on there, and there are forums where I've seen pictures and people that want to do this that are just communicating together. I would love to take that online resource and start culling that into local maker spaces.
Yeah.
Like, if you you don't have to you can just go to your local space and talk to people and get a human connection in a lot of cases to make find the knowledge to make the thing that you want to make. That would be really cool and I'm sure, absolutely sure, as we speak, that's happening.
Yeah.
Like
there's
no possible way you could go to any one of those places and not run into somebody that has similar interests, but might be on a different level of the journey than you are. Like someone who's been using a 3D printer for the past 8 years, like before it was a common technology, before you could go buy a MakerBot, you could like learn how to program from that dude.
Yeah, and it's that, and it's also like people like, even at like my level, which is not any means like considered a level, but like you talk to people who are interested in that, and I can't wait to tell them all the trials and errors.
Yeah,
and
all the
things that I figured out.
All the BS that you had to go through and everything. And that's a really cool way to kind of get ahead on the process, because at the end we want to make the thing. Like there's so much utility in making that thing, that any way that you can get ahead on the process of making it is like, man, I thought I was gonna have to spend like 9 hours on this one thing, but I talked to Ron at the maker space or whatever, or online or something, and he told me that, all you gotta do is this, this, and this, and you're good to go. I remember we were trying to figure out how to put the helmets together.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what material it was, and we were thinking of like cyanoacrylate glue and having to hold it, or some kind of adhesive, and then we saw on the internet like, it's just barge glue, the same thing they use to put shoes together, and you touch it, hold it, and then those two pieces have become one.
Yes.
And it's like
just magic.
Like, fuck.
It's like it was.
The second that you learn those things, it's like turning the page in the book, and that page to you weighed 7 million pounds before, but now it's just like, all right, cool, we're here.
Yeah. And you've just got a whole new set of problems.
But you get a whole new set of issues. But a lot of times when you're making stuff, it's that one thing that you keep getting wrong. And it could prove that all you needed was this tiny little pocket of knowledge, and I fucking touched my face again. Yeah. This tiny pocket of knowledge that you couldn't find or wasn't readily available, that you've stumbled upon, and now. Right.
Yeah, it is, and like with us with the helmet, it was just a rapid. Like once you hit that wall and you get through that, it just went together.
And and we started to problem solve on the fly instead of having to sit and talk about it for 2 hours, and then with shaky hands and an X-Acto blade, like, oh god, I hope I get this right.
Yeah.
It was just it came to the point where we joined it together and we're okay. Here we go, crack that. And we got on the shoulder pads and everything came together in a minute.
Yeah.
And how to attach them came together in a minute. And we're gonna do a video on the completion of that
We will.
as we get time to do said project.
Yeah.
But
the idea of the makerspace that we had, where it was the not just the ideas of things, but like we were saying, the actual follow through. Like,
yeah,
you have like,
beginning to end.
yeah, you can, if you want, if you that goes smoothly and you figure this out and stuff like that. Like, having the resources that no one, like, we don't have, like, nobody really has,
Mm-hmm.
to then just, you know, like, not like, okay, well, I figured that out, so in like 10 years I can do this. Like, you know, once I go to school and
Once
learn,
I go to school and save up enough money to buy a MIG welder or
yeah,
anything,
and
it's
then-
just like, oh, I have this idea and there's MIGs down at the space, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go there and hope I don't kill
Yeah.
myself.
Exactly. or you know, like we were saying, like, you know, I'm gonna, you know, if I figured this out, so now I'm gonna go put in a couple hours a week doing some stuff
Yeah, just welding
with
anything
some
together.
guy
That's,
there, like on a MIG, and
yeah,
like,
that's actually a big thing is the welding and it's the trade skills that I think are going to drive a lot of this maker stuff forward.
yeah,
It's like I don't know why I don't hear more people saying they want to be a welder
yeah,
or they want to be some
I-
kind of engineer. Like, no, it's all the old stuff from when we were kids. Like, what do you want to be? I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor,
Yeah.
and not
That's-
discrediting
no,
said
no.
professions at all, because we need lawyers and we need doctors, and sometimes lawyers need doctors, and sometimes doctors need lawyers.
yeah, they
And
do.
it's a symbiotic relationship. Those two professions go hand in hand. We need that, but we gotta stop. It's cutting funding to trade schools. Why
Yeah.
would you do that when we still need to join metal to metal?
The thing
We
we're
haven't figured
in-
that out
The
yet.
thing we're in, like, right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, like, the things that we take so for granted,
Yeah, like
that just wouldn't be there.
the,
Those skills.
the tripod
wouldn't
that's
disappear.
holding this
Yeah.
camera up would not exist if someone didn't know how to form aluminum,
Yeah.
or if someone didn't know how to create a pressure clamp that when you clamped it shut held something in situ so it wouldn't fall
Yeah.
over.
Well,
Like,
like,
nothing.
That's what we're doing, is we're trying to, like, surpass the design phase. There's
Yeah.
so many designers, there's so many kids who go to college or in school get into design and stuff, and that's great, but design jobs are just hard, not impossible, but like there's such a competitive thing.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be easier, instead of trying to get, well, not easier, but this would make it easier,
Mm-hmm.
is to be able to be your own manufacturer on that small scale, to have
Yeah.
an idea and physically make that thing and acquire those skills eventually, you know what I mean, like, and learn those things that you would need. So then you're like, you know, because like what we're doing with foam and easy to use, like, we can do it on this table, that's what it's about. It's like the
Yeah.
space you have, like, there's no point me and you buying a welder,
No.
because we've got nowhere
There's
to
nowhere.
use the welder.
We could not weld in the courtyard. We,
No,
no.
you can't. That is not allowed.
No, it's
Like,
not allowed. No welding in the courtyard.
and so you are, like, reined in. It's about, like, like, what happened, like, because for all we know, like, you could be an exceptional welder. You know what I mean? Like, for all we
Yeah.
know, but you're contained. Your ability is contained in what we have here.
Yeah.
And it's to, like, open those kids up, because they obviously have a crazy imagination. That's why they're, like,
Mhm.
fascinated with design and ideas, and their creativity is off the charts. So what happens when you give that kid the skills to make the stuff he thinks about 24/7?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Why, like, if there's no drive to be the dude behind the welder, there's soon going to be no drive to be the dude behind the computer.
Yeah.
And that, like, those two things work. If you draw cars like all day long, if you're sitting in math class right now watching a podcast,
Yeah.
first of all, stop because you need math. But second of all, pause the podcast, listen to it later, but look at those drawings of cars and superheroes and swords and stuff in your notebook, and don't think that you can't do that.
Yeah.
That you need to, like, I can do this, but I need to forge for, like, look at that, take that home, look at your notebook and look at it and be like, what do I need to do to complete this?
Yeah.
And you'll find out that, to design cars and everything and build a car, yeah, the car you're probably going to build is going to be a box of metal, but you could do that. You could absolutely acquire the knowledge to build an automobile from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yourself.
You could.
You could have all. You could be a designer and a builder all at the same time.
But in between that, you've got to be. There's always going to be a way, But like, wouldn't you rather be doing stuff to make that happen? Like, so start. Why don't you start like prototyping it? Why don't you make it on like a smaller scale and make an intricate bit, like make the chassis out of whatever material, and then come to a maker space and then use that stuff and then do it again but bigger, and figure out all those things to the point where you have the skills to be like, wow, like I know this thing like the back of my hand now. Like, I have, this project is like, I've worked on it like it would be worked on if it was a real thing, if I worked for something. And
yeah, if you were designing cars for someone, or it doesn't have to be a car. I mean, you can design furniture. It doesn't matter. Like, I've taken a whole bunch of ideas that I've had for anything, and it's I always reach for it because it's one thing I love to make stuff out of. Foam core. If you have an idea for a house, if you want to be an architect and design a house, and you are in school right now learning how to draw blueprints, you can then take those blueprints and scale them to a point where you can transfer those blueprints on to foam core, cut them out, glue them together, and have a 1/6 or 1/8 or 1/12 or whatever scale. I think Dollhouse scale is 1/12 or 1/24 scale model of the house you want to build.
Yeah.
Like, and that's cool.
And
That's amazing for a project idea. Like, I know we still have the senior projects and we still have those things, and a lot of kids kind of play it safe and do the whole volunteer thing. I know, unfortunately, that's what I did in high school. I volunteered somewhere and did that. But in hindsight, I wish I would have had that knowledge that was possible, and I guarantee you I would have done something different. Like, just know that the design courses that you're taking are a direct correlation to the trade classes you could be taking. Like, if you imagine an architect that was also a contractor, also a carpenter.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine the success that you would have if you understood both industries to their core and was able to do it?
Well, yeah. Then you would be like the man.
Yes,
like
basically the man.
You'd be the best architect out there because you're just leaps ahead of everyone else who just deals with pen and paper and ideas and stuff, to the point where you actually have like hand on material knowledge of, I know that this stuff would work better than what they're trying to use here. Like, I know that this stuff,
this design works better with what I have, and I can do this with that material.
Yeah.
Like, that would just be awesome. And I hope that, if the idea that we have and the idea that we've been getting at is we want to create a makerspace that's full from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, you know, with the advent of the nation of makers, with the advent of all that, that we or other people, we can all get involved and make the whole makerspace a whole bunch larger than it is.
Yeah.
So that's like,
That's it.
if you have any ideas or have any, you know, comments, if we got something wrong, please tell us. I don't care. I don't care if you completely rip it apart. If I don't care. More knowledge is better than no knowledge whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week. Bye.